At some point during the Ninja Masterclass, Ninja asked you to come up with some adjectives that describe your stream. I want to start out this YouTube video by coming up with 3 adjectives that describe this masterclass: scatterbrained, disconnected, and half-assed. My name is Finest, and I'm a partnered Twitch streamer and YouTuber over on my other channel. When I found out Ninja was doing a masterclass, I was actually excited. I love streaming, I've been doing it for years, and I actually respect Ninja as a content creator. He's gone to a level I'll probably never reach, and he's broken numerous streaming barriers. I wanted to check out the class and see what he has to say. I never want to feel like I'm too good or too experienced to learn something new about streaming, or really anything. I feel like that's a pretty boring way to live life. What I got out of this masterclass though was mostly disappointment. I'm going to run you through the basic outline of the course and talk about what I thought was good, what was bad, and what was just plain weird. I am so committed to filming this video that I just spent 2 hours recording it before realizing that my mic sounded like shit. So before we jump in, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe as well, and click on the bell icon so you can get alerted whenever I post a new video. It's free for you guys, but means the world to me. So the class starts out with a session overview, and Ninja introduces himself, talks about what you're going to learn in the next 30 days, even though I finished the course in like 3 hours. And he says that no matter what level of streaming you're at, this course is perfect for you. That we are going to build and establish a streaming presence. Sounds good. I want to point out that this is a masterclass session. I wasn't really too sure what the difference between the session and the regular masterclass was, so I googled it and I saw this. Sessions is the new hands-on format from masterclass, where you can learn alongside the world's best by working on projects and activities as part of a structured curriculum in just 30 days. So I guess that the sessions are the ones where there's actually activities involved, because throughout this course, Ninja does have you do certain things and share certain stuff with the class. So we begin with the guide to streaming terminology. Now, I thought that this was going to be something like, here's what kappa means, here's what a PogChamp is, but it was not like that. It was a PDF that had a bunch of different terms on it and their definitions. Some helpful, some kind of weird. The first one I thought was nice was analytics, data points, impressions, audience breakdown by demographics, etc. Available through social media and streaming platforms that can help you pinpoint what's going on and what your audience is responding positively to. That's a good thing to know. I agree there. There's also framing, the presentation of visual elements on the screen. Very good term. Good to know. Then you have stuff like high definition multimedia interface, HDMI cable, a standard connector for simultaneously transmitting digital video and audio from a source. If you have gone this long without knowing what an HDMI cable is, then I'm actually highly suspicious of you. Even my dad knows what those are, and he's 56. It felt like this PDF was trying to encompass a wide array of streaming terminology, or just like tech terminology in general. And to really drive this point home, one other term out of that PDF was Instagram, a free online photo and video sharing application and social network platform. Overall, the guide to streaming terminology was just very broad. I thought there was some good stuff, and then some stuff where, well, like Instagram or HDMI cable, where if you don't know that, this class may be a little advanced for you. But maybe I'm being nitpicky. Whatever. Let's move on. So next lesson was about establishing your streaming setup and content. What do you even need to start streaming? Here's where they introduce one of the cool things that I hate about this class, the overdub. What happens is they'll throw up a little infographic on the screen, and Ninja will overdub some audio on top of it. You can tell it's an overdub because whenever he does it, you can absolutely clearly understand he's reading from a script. It feels really inauthentic. Compared to when Ninja's looking at the camera and talking, there's a night and day difference in the overdub versus the authentic talking to the camera. He says to not stream for money because you won't get far, you're gonna need passion, which I will agree. That is true. He then throws up another infographic and overdub saying that he's not going to mention any specific brands or models because these things are constantly being updated. He is going to mention specific brands or models here very shortly, but he tells you otherwise in this overdub. Another reason why I think even that these overdubs weren't even written by Ninja. They're constantly contradicting what the Ninja talking to the camera is saying. More on that in a little bit. So then one more infographic, 5 things you need to start streaming. A gaming laptop or PC, a webcam, a microphone, a capture card, and a monitor. I'm going to go ahead and say that the webcam is not actually necessary. Helpful, but not necessary. As well as the capture card. You don't need a capture card unless the thing you're capturing is not on the PC you're playing on. But let's move on. Ninja then comes out, talks to the camera, and says that if you're streaming directly from a gaming PC, a capture card is not necessary. Remember what I was saying about the infographic overdub Ninja versus the camera Ninja? They're constantly contradicting each other. 2 monitors are recommended for streaming, 1 for gaming and 1 for chat. If you don't have a monitor for chat, you can have a laptop or even your phone. I thought that was good advice. A lot of people could start out by just using their phone for chat. It works perfectly fine. He then says you're going to need a webcam if you choose to use one. Okay, so it is optional, not necessary to start streaming like he just said before. Got it. He then talks a little bit about mix amps. I went into a big rabbit hole trying to figure out what exactly he was referring to when he said mix amp. It turns out it's like a Astro gaming technology that lets you connect 2 different audio sources, like 2 PCs, and transmit high quality audio to your headphones, as well as it has an output to transmit to like the stream. So it's essentially just like a little mixer. He never talks about how these aren't actually necessary because you can get the same thing out of a like regular Yamaha mixer or whatever. But moving on, he talks about how hardcore gamers should buy a good gaming PC. You're going to want a good one if you want to game at a high level. That's something he specifically says, gaming at a high level. You can buy a cheaper stream PC if you want to do a dual PC stream setup, which he does say is the ultimate setup, like the end game goal. You don't need a hardcore top of the line streaming PC unless you play games at a high level. Again, his words, not mine. The next part of this lesson has Ninja go over his old streaming setups. He has video footage of all of them, thankfully, so we can see what he was gaming on all the way back then. And he says that you should start cheap and invest later on, a philosophy that he will recommend all the way up until the next line where he says, if you have a ton of money and go all in, then that's a great play. I say start cheap even if you have a ton of money, but I guess if you have more than you know what to do with, sure, spend a lot of money on your very first gaming streaming setup. He then says it's important to have a 10 megabyte upload speed at minimum if you're going to stream, something we'll talk more about later. And once Ninja's talking about his third setup that he ever used, he talks about how, he really liked the Logitech Brio cam. He says it's the best one of its kind, even though you remember earlier he said he wasn't going to mention specifics. In this picture of his third setup, he has 2 microphones because he had 2 PCs. Never actually elaborates that that's completely unnecessary, which it is. You can use 1 microphone on 2 PCs as long as you set it up correctly. Ninja didn't know that at the time. No one's stopping you from using 2 microphones, but it's not necessary. He talks more about the Astro mix amp he was using, saying that it's going to make the quality better for you and the stream, but most importantly, it's so the quality is better for you and so that you can game at a top level. He again says that directly. An overdub then appears and recommends a 144 Hz monitor to you. If you have a limited budget, you should prioritize lighting or rely on your phone camera, and he does talk about a few low-cost options being out there. $50 microphones, $20 lights. Never mentioned specifics here, but he says that they are out there, which is true. He then spends quite a considerable amount of time flexing his $50,000 gaming room off, showcasing all the little details about it. He does say after that none of this is necessary. It is a total flex, which I commend him for actually saying that because that's what I was thinking. Then he follows it up with, but you might need to know some of these things in the future. I just like to imagine someone sitting there suddenly having stumbled across 10,000 viewers on Twitch and them thinking to themselves, man, I'm so glad I took that Ninja Masterclass. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what to do with all my success right now. I wouldn't know what to buy with all the money I'm making. But anyway, moving on. After this, the lesson ends and there's a special message from Ninja that pops up randomly. This is going to happen randomly 3 or 4 times throughout the class. It's a little iPhone style video like outside of the lessons. And in this first one, he says that if you're low on space with your desk, you should check out miniature keyboards, like smaller size keyboards, so you have more room for your mouse, which, I mean, that's good advice, so hey. Then he goes in to talk about setups for every budget. And this is where things get juicy. So this lesson is actually just like 3 grocery lists for a beginner PC setup, intermediate, and advanced. The beginner setup has a gaming PC, mic, webcam, stuff like that, keyboard, mouse, stuff like that. There's also links next to all of these things that take you to an Amazon page showcasing what they recommend a gaming PC that you get, or a mouse, keyboard, etc. for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So, okay, I've set the stage here. Now I'm going to run you through a couple of the things they recommend for each of these 3 users. For the beginner loadout, they recommend a $1,000 CyberPower PC. The specs look pretty good. The price seemed all right. I was okay with that. They also recommend a $200 144 Hz monitor. I'm going to go ahead and say, instead, get a $100 60 Hz 1080p monitor. That's going to be just fine for a beginner. You don't need the 144. not necessary. They recommend the C920, a $60 webcam, probably the best that's ever been made. They also recommend an Elgato HD60 capture card, which again is unnecessary unless you have something you need to capture. Mic, headset, standard issue stuff. Moving on to the intermediate loadout for a streamer. I click on the PC link, it takes me to the same $1,000 CyberPower PC. Okay, so whether you're intermediate or a beginner, this PC will do. Perfect. They recommend a second monitor with this intermediate loadout. The first monitor being the same 144 Hz $200 one from the beginner loadout. But in addition to this one, they recommend a second monitor, probably for chat. Sounds intermediate. The monitor they recommend is a $300 Alienware 240 Hz monitor. So they actually recommend that your second monitor be more expensive and higher quality than the main one. Even though Ninja earlier in the class said that you should use your best monitor for your gaming and have that be the main one, well, this intermediate list says otherwise. Your second optional monitor should be better than the main one for no reason. They recommend a AT2020 mic and Aerodynamic 990 headset. Those are great, good for intermediate, I'd say. So we're getting some weird ones here and some good options here, right? Okay, let's look at the advanced loadout for streamers. What should you have as an advanced streamer? Well, you should have the same PC. Yes, the link for the advanced PC takes you to the same $1,000 CyberPower pre-built. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this pre-built, but it seems to me like someone forgot to put a better PC for the better loadouts, because you probably should spend a little more if you're going to go advanced. You should spend a little more on the PC, right? Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Maybe it's not about money. So they also recommend 2 monitors with the advanced loadout, except instead of the second one being an Alienware, they literally list the second one as being the same as the first one. So somehow you go backwards on monitors with the advanced loadout compared to the intermediate loadout. Okay, what about the camera? I'm glad you asked. So the first camera was a C920 for beginners. Perfect. The second one, I didn't tell you, was the Logitech Brio 4K. A little bit more expensive, it was like $100, better quality. I can get down with that. What do they recommend for advanced streamers? Camera-wise, you say? The Blackmagic Design URSA Mini Pro 12K camcorder body. If you're unfamiliar with this camera, I don't blame you. This is the camera for those who are making Marvel movies. This camera is $6,000, and I guess I'm not an advanced streamer because my camera is not anywhere near that price. But hey, Ninja knows best, right? This is where I start to realize that, you know what? Maybe this list was thrown together willy-nilly, we'll say. The randomness of this whole thing, the PCs being the same PC all the way through, but the camera going from $60 to $6,000. The monitor thing, it just seems a little half-assed to me. And I think because it is. I also had this afterthought that maybe this stuff is affiliate links and they all paid, these companies paid to be on this list or something. So because they knew that people were going to look at this and like take it seriously, which really sucks because there's some poor decisions on here. There's some good decisions, but this setup for every budget, you know, helpful checklist, grocery list, it's just rough, man. But let's move on. Lesson number 3 was Ninja's favorite software for streaming. It was OBS, thank God. This is the lesson where Ninja sets up OBS for us and walks us through how to set everything up. It was standard issue stuff, about as boring as you would think. Some juicy tidbits of information. He never talks about GPU streaming. He shows that you should click on 264 CPU encoding, that he says that's what you should do. He never even mentions that you can stream off your GPU. I'm not quite sure he knows you can stream off your GPU. Sometimes that's a good option for people who may not have the best CPU, because GPU encoding is actually easier on your PC. But hey, we don't have time for knowledge and details here in Ninja's Masterclass. Next, he says that the bare minimum bitrate you should have for streaming is 5K. This is just untrue. If you want an example, there's a small streamer named Tyler1. He plays League of Legends, not very well known, kind of indie. Sometimes he streams at 3K for like 20,000 people, 30,000 people. The bitrate 5K minimum, that's just not true. There are games where you can get away with really low bitrate, even, I mean, as far as 1,000, 2,000 bitrate, depending on the game. But I guess that's what Ninja says. That's what we should do. No lower than 5K. So if you're streaming lower than 5K, you might as well not even be streaming at all. To further back up the claim that he may not know what he's talking about in this department, he then states that he believes some people have an 8K bitrate cap on Twitch, but he doesn't actually say that. Well, he believes it. I know it. 8K is the cap. You can stream at 8K if you want. Anyone can. It just whether or not that's a good idea is up to the individual user. But yes, Ninja, you can stream at 8K. Happy to let you know. While he's setting up OBS, there is a microphone that's on the desk next to him, and it's not plugged in. I know this because when he's setting up OBS, the only options for mics are the one on his webcam. So the only thing that's plugged into the PC he's setting up OBS on is a webcam. The microphone actually never gets used. The one sitting on the desk in front of him the whole time, it never gets plugged in, never gets used. Thought that was kind of funny. Ninja doesn't recommend using hotkeys because you might accidentally start and stop your stream when you don't mean to. What he should have said here was maybe don't make a hotkey for starting and stopping your stream, but you can definitely create hotkeys for switching scenes because it's a very cheap and effective way to do that with your keyboard. Like you can switch scenes with your keyboard. You don't need a $100 Stream Deck or anything like that. That's my advice. That's not his. He does show that you can change the priority process in OBS, which is something that I didn't even know about. So I did learn something there. If somehow OBS isn't being like prioritized on your PC, like your PC is not giving it enough juice, you can change the priority process and like give it the juice. So that was helpful. He says you don't have to worry about stream delay. He does because he gets stream sniped all the time, just like all the other top streamers do. But you don't have to worry about stream delay. Now, I know this isn't my masterclass, but I would have worded this a little differently. I would have said something like, so here's a section where you can set stream delay. This is good for, you know, if you feel like you're getting stream sniped or something, you can add a little stream delay. That way, what people are seeing on your stream is 10, 20, 30 seconds behind what's actually happening. Also, eventually, if you find yourself in some gaming tournaments, they might ask you to put on some stream delay. So it's good to know how to do that. There is going to be a bit of a disconnect between you and your chat. If you add stream delay, you know, they're going to see what you're saying 10, 20, 30 seconds later than you say it and respond that much later too. So it can be bad for chat interaction, but it's good to know how to set it up. That's what I would have said, not, you know, oh, you don't need to know that. You're not a top streamer like me. I get stream sniped all the time, but it's his class, not mine, right? I didn't even mention this before, but he also says a good reason to have stream delay on is in case you say something you didn't mean to say. He literally says that. He says, if you accidentally say something you didn't mean to say, you can end your stream right there and force delete the stream so that way it doesn't actually get broadcast out. And man, I guess we know what kind of words Ninja was using when he was younger. And then when creating a scene, Ninja shows how to do a monitor capture and a webcam capture. That's all he actually shows how to set up, which is technically all you need to start gaming, but I just thought we could, I don't know, dive into a few more cool tricks and tips, but I guess we don't have to. The next lesson is about creating your stream environment. More good stuff to come here, guys. I want to start out with a quote from Ninja where he's talking about the way he enjoys his streaming setup to be. Here it is. So for example, if I get a Fortnite win and I absolutely crush someone, if you're in this like little tiny dorm room or you box yourself in with your setup, I mean, you're basically, you know, stuck with not being able to move around like it's a cubicle at work. You don't want to be stuck in this tiny tight space unless of course, you know, that's the only option that you have. So for me, I like a big massive background so I can just, you know, get up, jump out of my chair and start doing crazy things like dancing around. So yeah, I'd say most people enjoy more space than less space. Like, yes, of course, if you can have a bigger room, get a bigger room, but just get a bigger room, forehead. He starts out by like basically saying if you are stuck streaming with less space than optimal, if you're in a dorm room, if you have a small room, then you suck. Like, it was kind of an afterthought, like, oh, unless you have to stream that way, then that's all right. But I prefer streaming with a big room. It's like, of course, man. Don't we all? Like, who wouldn't want a bigger room to stream in? What could have been said instead here was like, hey, if you are stuck in a tiny little dorm room, don't worry. There's a lot of stuff that we can do to make your stream background entertaining. So while you may not have enough space to run around in, we can still like make the stream awesome. Like, but no, he's saying, you know, if you have a small space, you kind of suck. And you should have a bigger space. And I'm like, that's helpful, man. He says to pay mind to the colors behind you. Don't just have boring white walls if you can. Throw in some LED lights, curate cool props. Like I have a Texas flag right here, some ramen that people like to make fun of me for, and a guitar. Not only are these things like, you know, make the background look good, but these are also conversation pieces, which he actually mentions too. You know, if you have a favorite sports team, throw up their memorabilia in the background, and that way you can actually have something to talk about with your chat. Like maybe someone comes in and they say, yo, I'm a Cowboys fan too, and you could be like, yo, they suck, right? And be like, yeah, they do. But you know what I'm saying? So Ninja was right there. Like, have a good background. He says to treat it like a set design for a movie. I agree, that's true. Every little adjustment to the stuff in your background can make a huge difference, like camera, lighting, and angles, all that stuff kind of feels like a meme, but it's actually true. Like the way you have your setup, every specific thing in specific place, it makes it look different, for better or worse. He says to try and keep your setup away from noisy stuff. An example he gave was if your parents work out in the next room, try and move your stuff away from that room. He never bothers to mention the fact that you can put a noise gate on your microphone, so maybe if you're not fortunate enough to have another room to move into for your streaming, you're okay still. You can set up your microphone to combat the noise next door or whatever. You can work with what you got, but he never mentions that. He just says, try and keep your setup away from noisy areas. I mean, in an overdub, he says you can always use a green screen. The downside is it takes a lot of effort to get right. Yeah, that was a lot of effort. I have to agree with him there. It's much easier just to get your background perfect and set everything up perfectly. Green screens do kind of suck. I gotta agree with him there. Just more weird overdub nonsense. Like he never talks about that to the camera. Just something he said in overdub. I don't even know if he actually means it or not. It's hard to say. But I'd argue it's easier to put up a green screen than it is to make your room look really good. Like a green, you just put it up, man, and like light it, and it's not that bad. He says if you're a loud gamer, you should try and put your setup away from everyone else. You should soundproof if you can, but doesn't go into any detail about that whatsoever. He suggests that a cheap ring light behind a camera can be good. I agree. In fact, I should probably pick up a ring light because these panels are giving me weird eyes. But if you don't have a ring light, you should try and use natural light. After all, sunlight is free. He actually says that. I don't know why he said this, because I'm going to be honest with you. Sunlight is your enemy when it comes to a scene, illuminating a scene or a stream setup. The problem with sunlight, you may not know, is that it's inconsistent and is not always the same brightness. So when you're setting up your stream, you want it to always be the same when it comes to like lighting. You don't want it to be where, oh, in the morning I look good on camera and at night when the sun's gone, my stream looks horrible. Like, no, you block out the, you put curtains up, you block out the sun, you get light panels, you get lights, and you set it up to where it looks the same all the time. I mean, that's just basic 101 stuff. I don't know why he said that. He doesn't do that. I don't think he's ever done that. But yeah, sunlight is your enemy when it comes to illuminating streams and stuff like that. He suggests that you center yourself mid-frame, something I've probably been not doing in this video because I'm moving around too much. And he also says, he talks about the rule of thirds. To be honest, the PDF on terminology talked more about the rule of thirds than he did, but the basic idea is divide this big rectangle I'm in up into 9 spaces, 3 on the top, 3 in the middle, 3 at the bottom, and just kind of, you want to be in the middle and the top, and you want to frame stuff like maybe alerts can go in this quadrant, you know, something else can go in this section, but treat the screen like there's 9 squares on it and frame it that way. I explained it just now to you more than he did, by the way. He says to not use low angles. So if you're like using your camera, like don't have it below you like this. You want to have your camera up higher because it looks better, even though he's going to shoot from a low angle here very soon in a future lesson. He says to not position your light source behind you. He says this as B-roll footage of him turning around to look at the camera with lights behind him is playing. So this is the first example of the Masterclass editing and film crew being on a different wavelength than Ninja with what he's saying, because they're literally showing an example of what he's saying not to do. But in the example, it looks really good because they have like professional cameras and stuff. But the footage and what he's saying directly contradict in that moment. So it's just funny. The next lesson is about choosing your content and going live. What do you want to stream? He talks about if you do IRL, they do have streaming backpacks. Those exist, which I didn't even know that. I thought that was helpful. He recommends gamers start with a smaller community and game. So you should be a big fish in a small pond. That is what he said. I will agree with that. You want to pick a game that is not huge. You're going to be able to be found in the directory when you're streaming it. Like you'll be known versus something like Fortnite or Call of Duty where there's just no way you're going to be found in that directory. So I agree with that. He says a streaming platform will have a directory so you can see what viewers are watching. He should have said Twitch has a directory that you can see what viewers are watching. Instead, he goes vague with it. Sometimes I feel like he can't get into specifics due to legal reasons, but like YouTube doesn't have a directory, Twitch does. So I don't know why he said it that way, but Twitch has a directory where you can see that. Hi, I actually just found out that YouTube does have a directory. If you go to YouTube and then scroll down until you find gaming and click on that, you can hit view all, and there's your directory. He He says to enjoy what you're playing, otherwise the audience is going to be able to tell if you are not having a good time. Stick to one game at first so you can grow a community in that game. And when viewers first find you, they're going to be watching for the game, not for you. This is very true. At first, when you're streaming, viewers are going to come in because they like the game you're playing. And you know, eventually they're going to learn to love you and learn to, you know, enjoy watching you more than the game. Hopefully, that's the end game. If you do want to switch games, you should start with the game you're known for and then switch to the other game. That is also good advice. I do that. And when trying to decide what game you should stream, you need to ask yourself, how much content does the game have? Can you keep playing it? Does the game look new or old? Does the game get updates regularly? He says that BRs are one of the best types of games to stream. I'll let you decide how you feel about that. You should contact friends or family to get you off the one viewer list. So when you do go live, not only should you have your stream pulled up on your phone or like a second computer to get to one viewer, if you have friends or family that have PCs and that can pull your stream open and leave a lurk, that's great too. And you should absolutely do that because there's no reason to sit with 0 or 1 viewers. You can definitely hit 2, 3, or whatever number just off friends and family. So yeah, good advice. Next lesson's about developing your stream persona. Ninja talks about how when he was playing Halo Reach and he was doing 1v1s, that gave him a lot of time to be goofy because there was a lot of downtime between fights. And that's kind of when he started to develop his streaming persona, being goofy in between games and stuff. Trial and error to find your own style, which I agree with. You're just going to go out there, stream, and you'll start to figure out what's going on as you go. And then we get to a really funny moment in the class where he tries to show an example of something that I've also tried to show an example of before, but him and the film crew are just not on the same page here, so the example comes off a little rough. So what he's doing is he's playing Valorant, and he wants to talk about how important it is to be entertaining, like how much more entertaining it is to watch somebody who's talking versus not talking. So he does this example where he's in a Valorant game. He starts out by not talking at all and not having any music. It's just him playing Valorant. This goes on for about 30 to 45 seconds. Halfway through this, the camera crew, in an effort to make what's going on entertaining, starts to switch up camera angles of Ninja. So they show him from afar, him from up close, him in the game, etc. The idea here that Ninja was trying to show is that it's very boring to stream with no music, no commentary, because he's right, it is. The camera crew was thinking, oh, he's just doing nothing right now. We need to spruce this up, change camera angles. If they had kept the camera angle the same the whole 30 seconds, 45 seconds, the point really would have been driven home. You don't really need to be afraid about attention span when somebody paid $180 to take the class, I think. So the next example, Ninja puts on some music. Still is not doing any commentary, but he throws on music. It's a little more entertaining, of course. And of course, the camera crew, after a lot of silence, starts panning different camera angles once again to make the scene more entertaining. Finally, Ninja plays Valorant with music and does commentary over the top. Very, active with his chatting. Oh, here's Viper doing this. I'm going to round this corner. Being very descriptive. That's the example that's supposed to show, look, you want to be talking at all times because that makes it a lot more entertaining. This whole thing was just kind of ruined by the camera crew getting antsy and trying to make the first couple examples more entertaining than they really were. This is just a good example of how the Masterclass film crew and editing crew were not on the same page as Ninja for this particular example. One thing Ninja suggests is that you break the fourth wall when you're playing your game. So what that means, he didn't create this, but the idea is to stare into the camera whenever something happens in a game and talk directly to the audience. That's called breaking the fourth wall. He says that you need to take whatever happens in your game, add your own spin to it, add your own flair to it. And that's part of your personality for sure. Like whenever something happens in a game, if you lose, you can either start raging about why you lost, or you can talk about, oh, you know what? I think if I had taken this position instead, guys, and then done this thing, that we probably would have had a different outcome there. What are you going to do when things happen in game? How are you going to react to them? So that's what he's talking about there, putting your own spin on things. Just being active, chat with people, talk, make sure you're not awkward silences all the time in your stream because no one wants that. He says that if you have a talent, if you're a singer, throw that into the mix. I completely agree. If you can play guitar, do that on stream. I don't do that enough. If you have some talent singing, I know a guy, he sings a lot. That's true. Get your talents onto the stream. So the next thing Ninja does is he goes live on his phone to showcase a real world example of IRL streaming. So he sits there in the studio, he's got his phone camera like this, and he goes live to his stream. So right before he goes live, he says, oh, when it comes to titles, clickbait is awesome. And he never actually elaborates on like how to use that to your advantage. Like, I feel like that clickbait could have had its own lesson here, but he just kind of glosses over it. The whole thing is filmed from the low angle, like he said not to do earlier, which it's not that big of a deal. He looks fine. I just think it's funny that he contradicted himself there. You know, it just kind of adds to this whole like half-assed idea of the class. He talks to his chat a lot, like, you know, says thank you for the subs, talks sports with some people in this example. I think that when it comes to streaming, when you have viewers, it's easy to talk to them and talk about stuff. A better example here in this situation, at least if it was me there, I would have said like, okay, look, I'm live right now. There's people in chat, right? Ignore the chat for a second, even if they weren't here, because a lot of you are going to have no viewers in the beginning, no chatters, right? That happens. People deal with that. Still talk like people are there, you know, say, oh man, this morning, guys, I had a bagel and some cream cheese, and it was honestly amazing. I'm becoming a huge bagel fan as of late. I also had this delicious coffee. Like, you know, take an example of, okay, forget the chatters. Like, you can do this even if no one's in there. It's possible, but that's me. You know, the example he gave still has some weight to it. I think it shows what to do if you're live, how you should be acting. So that's true. So that's good. Next lesson, set your streaming routine. Create a schedule so you don't overdo it. He talks a lot about burnout here. He talks about how he used to stream long hours and how, you know, it's important to balance work and life. This is all very true, but I don't think they went into enough detail about how to avoid burnout. He actually says that when it happened to him, he just pushed through it. He does say that if things aren't going well on any given day, just end the stream. It's going to be okay. I think there could have been a few lessons on the mental aspect of this, the burnout. Like, it's important stuff for sure, but they just don't have time to elaborate, I suppose. When it comes to eating, either you're going to eat before stream or after, or don't be afraid to eat on stream, he says. You can actually use that time to connect with chat, maybe watch some YouTube videos. I've actually been doing this on my live stream too. We will take a food break midway through. I'll ask them, you know, chat what kind of videos they want to watch, and we'll just watch something interesting like $1 Million Homes or whatever, talk about all the stuff we can never afford. And it's actually really good. People love it. Chat's been saying they really enjoy that. So don't be afraid to eat on stream. You can use, don't be afraid to watch YouTube videos on stream, actually, because it's, well, okay. If a year from now this becomes like a huge no-no, then ignore this. But yeah, right now, and this time, watching YouTube videos on stream is a nice way to take a break and eat some food. Ninja gameplay tips, the next lesson. Really out of place. It was like 4 minutes long. More on like how to be a better gamer rather than better streamer, because you don't actually need to be a better gamer to be a good streamer. But Ninja's gameplay tips, watch pro players and copy them, which is true. I play Escape from Tarkov, and before I saw somebody do certain things on the game, I didn't know about them. So it is very much a thing to watch somebody better than you play the game and learn from them and copy them. That's very true. He also says that aim trainers exist. Yes, they do. How to evolve as a streamer, the next lesson. This one gets a little strange. He says that you want to always keep your viewers anticipating the next thing that's coming out from your channel on Twitch. He showcases this by pulling up his very first YouTube video where he talks about how, you know, I'm going to post highlights on this channel. I'm going to post good gameplay clips and stuff like that. He uses his YouTube video as an example of keeping your viewers anticipating the next biggest thing on Twitch. He claims that he showed that YouTube video off to his Twitch stream at the time, but I don't really buy that. He then goes off showing more YouTube videos like over the course of his history on YouTube, talking about, oh, in this video I did top 5 clips of the day or top 5 clips of the week or whatever, where I took clips from my Twitch stream and then did commentary over them. And that was just a good way. What it really is a good way to do like YouTube videos, to make YouTube videos off of your stream highlights. But he never really elaborates in this segment that that's what's going on. He talks about the segments about how to evolve as a streamer, but then he just goes through a bunch of YouTube videos and talks about how like pretty much how he evolved as a YouTuber. He never even bothers to say how important YouTube is to like grow your stream. He'll briefly touch on this later when it comes to social media, but not nearly enough if you ask me. Like, YouTube is huge for growing on stream, and this whole segment definitely felt scatterbrained. Like he at some points didn't realize, oh wait, am I talking about Twitch or YouTube right now? So just rough, man. There's some other stuff too, like a couple ways you can evolve as a streamer. He mentions are your hair, your equipment, your environment, the way you start your streams, stuff like that. So he's basically saying like, I mean, over time, like your equipment's going to get better. That's how you will evolve. Your hair could change. Like maybe you start dyeing your hair and just stuff like that. Like just giving some examples of how you can evolve. But I mean, I don't know. It kind of misses the mark if you ask me. And he ends this segment with a quote. I am seriously so proud of all of you for making it this far. Continue to work. continue to grind. This is just getting started and you only have one section left. Bear with me. Keep that quote up in the noggin for a minute. We're going to come back to this. The next lesson is engaging with your audience. You should develop relationships with your viewers. Basically, an example he gave was if you have a viewer that talks about how his dog wasn't feeling too well, we'll call him Jack. The next time Jack comes into the stream, you can bring that up and say, hey Jack, is your dog feeling any better, man? That's going to create like a genuine connection with that person, and they're going to notice that, and they're going to feel more like you care about them and want to come back more. This is basic human connection, but when it comes to the streaming world, everything is weird and messed up. So I have to say this, like that's a good thing, even though it is already a good thing to like care about people. But yeah, it is a thing in streaming. Like if you call out details from viewers that they told you about later on, like they'll remember that and like they'll have a better time. Then the infamous clip plays about him talking about having the viewer list open and calling out streamers. I'll go over this if you're not familiar. Basically, the trailer for the masterclass featured a clip of Ninja saying, one thing you can do as a new streamer is to have your viewer list on Twitch open. The viewer list shows all the names of the people that are in your stream, even if they haven't spoken. So he was saying, before those people even speak, you can call out their name and say, hey Billy, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day, dude. And that may entice them to talk, or that may make them be like, yo, this guy's cool, and you'll gain like a follower for life, is what he said. This was immediately met with a ton of controversy on social media, and I'm starting to think that it was actually planned this way to gain like engagement and to like spread the word about his masterclass, because that's actually genius if that's what it was, because it got everybody talking about his masterclass. I'll tell you that. I actually, when I heard that, I was sitting next to my wife and I was like, yo, he just said to call out the viewers in your viewer list before they even speak. And she was like, okay, what's wrong with that? And I'm like, it's Twitch etiquette to not do that. You never do that. You never call out the lurkers. And she's like, I don't really get it. Either I'm going to respond or I'm just going to leave. And so that made me realize that while there are a bunch of people who think that that's a definite taboo, a big no-no to never call out the lurkers, there's also probably a demographic of people out there like my wife who wouldn't really mind it. So yeah, when you're starting out, you really have nothing to lose. Call out that lurker and see what happens. Maybe they like that. It's just really not as big of a deal, I think, as a lot of people make it out to be, especially after hearing from my wife and hearing that, she doesn't even really understand why it's a big deal. So there's got to be more people out there like that. But anyway, next lesson was about trolls, how they do exist because it's the internet. Some tips he gave on how to deal with them. Learn to mute. Crack jokes or wisecracks back at them. Don't engage with them. Team up with them, or block the hostile ones. These were all tips on like an overdub on the screen. He never elaborated on the team up with them part. I have no idea what the hell he was talking about there. You don't just like, you don't get a troll in your chat who like insults you and then be like, yo man, you want to play Fortnite? Like, I don't know what he was saying there. I still don't know. But the other ones are good. Yeah, learn to mute them. Block them if they're hostile. Don't engage with them at all. Like, those are all good tips. The next thing that happened was another weird moment that I still don't understand. There was a clip of Ninja playing Fortnite. He was like fighting someone. It was a basic 1v1. In the clip, Ninja's fighting the dude and his camera's on the screen, like his webcam. You can tell he is not saying anything. Over top of this gameplay clip, the video, there is audio of Ninja saying, and I quote, if we witness you leave, I will not report you, but I will guarantee you're banned if you stay in this game. In this overdub clip of him saying that, there's also Fortnite audio, but it doesn't match the audio of what was happening on the screen. So they took a Fortnite video clip and threw this audio over it for some reason. I still don't know why. Basically what he's saying here is, he was probably talking to like someone harassing him and saying, yo, if you stay here, I'm gonna get you banned because I'm Ninja and I can do that. I don't understand the point of this segment. It was very strange, especially because the audio didn't match the video. Like someone pulled a clip separate from the clip that was playing audio, and it was just weird, man. And I don't see how it pertains to the average like normal streamer, because no one can just say that, like, I'm gonna get you banned if you keep harassing me. It just felt out of place. Don't even know if Ninja knew that got added. Seemed like some editing crew tomfoolery, if you ask me. Ninja also suggests that you ignore trolls until they say something constructive and then read that. I actually do that all the time. Sometimes viewers will come in being a certain way, and I'll look at it and be like, I don't want to respond to that. And later on, they'll say something that I do care to respond to, and I'm like, yo, what's up, man? Good to see you. Like I didn't see them before. I do that a lot. It happens. Sometimes viewers come in and act a fool. It happens. So that's good advice. If you're unsure about whether or not someone is a troll, he says, make banter with them, see how they respond. So like crack a joke and see if, you know, they back off and be like, oh, yo, I was just kidding, bro. What's up, man? Good to see you. Because that will happen sometimes. And now I'd like to direct you to a real world example from Finest XI. Because like this stuff where like when you engage with certain trolls and then they like back off and be like, yo, just kidding, bro. Like this actually happens. So check this out. YouTube video, comment on my video. I don't like you. Other than that, I like this game. It was Project Zomboid. I reply, you like me and you like the game. They reply, no, and I won't sub till you heart me. I dare you. I reply, I heart you. They reply, okay, +1 sub. I'll see you in the stream. That was the actual thing Ninja was talking about, where if you engage with somebody who you think is a troll, sometimes they're gonna just like, yo, I'm just kidding, man. Like this guy went from saying he didn't like me to subbing on YouTube and then saying, I'm going to your stream. Like it's a real thing. So good on Ninja for pointing that out, I will say. Go back to the right scene. Just kidding. Here we go. Okay, cool. Next lesson was about moderating your chat. Small problem with this section. So Ninja basically talks about some tools that you can use to moderate. The tools he's referring to are the ones on Twitch, but he never specifically says that. He makes it very general and says that there are moderation tools out there. The other problem here is that when he actually is showing you how to do these things, the camera crew is not showing what's on the screen. Again, I don't know if this is a legal issue, like they couldn't show what the Twitch moderation tools were for legal reasons. I don't know why that would be a thing, but there was a section on how to time out somebody on Twitch. They never show the screen. They never show how to do that. There's a section on searching through names on the viewer list on Twitch to find trolls. They never show the screen during that. They show how to ban people on Twitch, but they don't show the screen. They just show Ninja looking at his computer, like from the back end, like the monitors away from the camera and stuff. So my whole problem with this section is either they just like the film crew and the editing crew like completely wasn't even watching what they were doing, or they didn't have legal permission to show the screen. And if they didn't have legal permission to show the screen, then why did they even keep this segment in? Like it just makes everyone look bad. Like what Tyler's doing on the computer and what the film crew is showing, they're not showing it. Why is this segment even in the masterclass if they couldn't get permission? Why are they still letting him talk about it? Like the editing crew should have took that out. It doesn't make any sense. He ends this segment by saying, I am seriously so proud of all of you for making it this far. Continue to work, continue to grind. This is just getting started and you only have one section left. Does that sound familiar to you? It should, because this was the same clip that played 2 lessons ago to end that lesson. 2 separate lessons. They have the same ending clip saying that the next section is the last one. And while technically the next section is the last one, actually no, it's not, because there's one more after that. That's like a conclusion 2 minutes long. So not even technically the last one. The fact that they end 2 different lessons with this clip is just silly. It just shows like a lack of even caring about the editing of this whole thing. But there were many other points along the way during this whole thing where we realized that there was a lack of caring. So I guess it's not surprising. Next lesson's about building your brand. Ninja says that for him, he started wearing the headband every time he won games, started doing the pon-pon dance, dyed his hair blue, has high energy. These are all things that make up the Ninja brand. You should have a business email for easy contact, and it should be professional. Don't have too many X's or slashes in it. Then he jumps into how to get more subs. He talks about how you can play with subscribers. You can have subscriber emotes that they can use. Also, you should do something unique for subs. So remember we were talking about like if you can play guitar or if you can sing or something, maybe when someone subs, you do that. So it incentivizes people to sub more. I've done it before with like drums. It definitely gets people to sub and donate more. Like that's a real thing. So yeah, if you got skills, show them off. It'll really work in your favor. Now we get into the part that I was anticipating the most, maximizing your social media presence. This is where I thought we were going to get into the specifics about how important it is to grow on other platforms, because Twitch really is bad for discoverability by itself. And you do need to grow on stuff like Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. It's really going to help your career streaming. He says that you should have an account on all social media. Yeah, you should tweet when you're live, but more importantly, you should tweet clips from your stream, the highlights, the big moments. And not only should you tweet them, you should put them on TikTok, YouTube, stuff like that. You should have the same username across all socials, and you should not favor one social over the other. He also said you should upload memes that are relevant. I don't know why he said that. I don't know if he meant like clips or if he meant literally memes, like we should all become meme lords. Again, never elaborated on, not even once. Make the names the same on all socials. Yep, that's good advice. He kind of shows you how to create a highlight on Twitch, but not really, because the camera doesn't show what's on the screen and he doesn't really explain it. He just says that you should do it. It really was never stressed just unfortunately how important it is to grow on like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. It was talked about like in this segment, but not really as big of a deal as it should have been. He then goes on to say you should pick the perfect title. Like you want your titles to not be too wordy, to be, you know, he doesn't say clickbaity, but that's what he means. While he's talking about this segment, he starts showing off pictures of YouTube titles. So again, it's just kind of that moment where it's like, wait, are we talking about Twitch or YouTube? The reason that I even point this out is because when we were setting up OBS, the recording section of OBS, Ninja said specifically, oh, we don't need to worry about this. It doesn't pertain to streaming. Well, with all this YouTube and TikTok that we're now talking about, I feel like the recording section of OBS would be helpful to obtain high quality footage for these other social medias. But at one point, it wasn't relevant to us, and now we keep getting YouTube. We keep talking about YouTube and Twitch like interchangeably, and it just, again, comes across as like scatterbrained, I'll say. You should check your analytics to see how things are performing, which, yep, that is true. And then Ninja starts talking about collaborations. For example, he wanted to be known in the world of music, so he streamed at Lollapalooza. He wanted to be known in the world of sports, so he streamed with athletes. And, you know, he wanted to grow his brand past the ceiling he had hit, so he streamed with Drake. But he does go on to talk about how there are some ways to collab with people that benefit you, like you, the watcher. So like you can interview a local personality to help grow your stream. Like I guess what comes to my mind is like Brian Stars, how he used to go around like the Warped Tour scene and interview like bands and stuff, even though he was like a nobody until he started doing that. This gets also glossed over, so I don't really have any more to say about that. I don't know the specifics. Collab with brands that already have a presence. He says, an example, if you're like a fitness dude or lady, collab with fitness brands of like sportswear and stuff like that, because then, you know, their audience can be crossed over with your audience. He says not to collab by just like messaging somebody in chat. Don't say, hey bro, you want to stream together sometime? While somebody's streaming, that's self-promo, it's not good. That is true. He says you should DM them. That is the correct way to do that, absolutely. He then says to stay in your lane. Don't hit up somebody too much bigger than you. They'll see it as taking advantage. This is where it gets a little weird, you know, because he says you should hit up people your size. So if you're a 30 viewer streamer, hit up other 30, 40 viewer streamers to collaborate. Don't hit up somebody, you know, with 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever. I'll say this. I feel like the guy who's not afraid as like a 50, 100 viewer streamer, the guy who's not afraid to hit up the 5,000 viewer streamer, he'll go farther than someone like me or someone like what Ninja's talking about, where they don't hit up somebody much bigger than them. There's really nothing to lose by hitting up people that are much bigger than you, except they'll say like no, or they won't respond, I guess. So throughout this whole thing, there were subtitles playing, as most things have, you know, the words he's saying are on the screen, subtitles, right? 2 occasions throughout this class, there was a moment where the subtitle was prefaced by the name of the person speaking. Except it wasn't the name of the person speaking. It said Richard Blevins. Ninja's name is Tyler Blevins. Who the fuck is Richard Blevins? Is this some kind of joke? Is this like Richard like Dick Blevins? This only happened twice throughout the whole thing, but again, just added to the weirdness aspect of this. And maybe even what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen, is somebody on that masterclass editing crew wanted to sabotage the heck out of this course, because it all makes sense if you go in with that mindset. All the editing mistakes, all the weird moments that don't make any sense at all. Someone had it out for Ninja in this course on the masterclass team. I'm putting money on it. Okay, so I had to go back and redo a couple of parts of this video, but I'm actually really glad that I did, because there's something else I forgot to show you guys, but I can show you now. If you don't believe me that somebody had it out for Ninja in this masterclass, then watch this clip of Ninja's Takis commercial that they show in the masterclass lesson.
Takis, gaming is intense, but Takis are seriously intense. And many, many other.
I don't know if you caught that. That wet fart, that's not in the original Takis commercial. You can go YouTube it right now, that Takis commercial, and you can hear the audio as it's supposed to be. Someone actually replaced the audio in that commercial with a wet fart for this masterclass. But the last thing that happened was there was a bit of an outro where he starts to wrap it up. You know, the heartfelt, you know, good luck on your streaming journey, the classic goodbyes and stuff. It's then followed up by a clip from way earlier in the class. So it kind of like loses all authenticity at that point. It's like, wait, didn't I watch this like hours ago? Why are we wrapping up the class with this clip? That doesn't make sense. But then they end it with an original clip of him saying goodbye, thanks for taking the class, stuff like that. So final thoughts here. I know this went on a lot longer than we all thought it would, but I just had a lot to say. There was a lot of funny moments, a lot of weird stuff to point out, and I just thought it should be talked about. Final thoughts. Do I think you should take this masterclass? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I really wanted this to be a good one, guys. I'm not kidding. I did not want this to be a bad thing. I wanted this masterclass to be good because I don't know if I said this earlier. I've been watching the other masterclass courses while I was waiting for this one to come out. They're really good. I watched Tom Morello teach me how to play guitar. That guy's cool. I learned a lot. It's been really good, but this one wasn't that good. There's so much knowledge about streaming on YouTube. I'll point out a name, Harris Heller, Alpha Gaming. He's a he's a Twitch tips guy, content creation tips guy, and he's great at what he does. He has a plethora of information on the internet for free on YouTube that you can check out. So much knowledge on how to grow a stream, how to be a better streamer, equipment guides, everything like that. There's just too much on YouTube for free for me to be able to recommend that you take this masterclass. I honestly think that this masterclass is for fans of Ninja, not so much people looking to grow as streamers. If you're a big Ninja fan and you wanted some inside, behind the scenes info on him and you wanted to watch him teach how to be a streamer, this class is for you. But if you're not really a Ninja fan and you're just looking to grow your stream or looking how to be a better streamer, YouTube is a way better guide, I have to say. If you guys have made it this far and you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit the like button. Subscribe too if you like this kind of stuff. And I do stream on Twitch. The link for that will be down below. Feel free to come on by and talk to me about this class or yell at me or whatever. I don't really care, but come say hello. I do hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.